Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Recently, I published a video on the channel about the genetics of the ancient Israelites, and you showed great interest in the topic. Because of this, I decided to bring new content exploring the fascinating and enigmatic genetics of the Arab peoples. Do you really know the history, genetics, and linguistics of the various Arab tribes? In this video, my focus will be on the genetics of these ancient tribes, which are still present in the Middle East today, such as the descendants of Ishmael, Ishmaelites, Esau, Edomites, the Midianites, Ammonites, Moabites, and also the Joktanites, descendants of Joktan. So, enjoy this video on the channel. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. The mystery of Arab DNA, the sister genetics of the Jews. Before addressing the genetic issue of the various Arab tribes, it's important to clarify a common misconception that many people have about the origin of the Arabs. When asked about the ancestry of this people, the most frequent answer is that Arabs exclusively descend from Ishmael. However, when we analyze the biblical and historical genealogies, as well as the records preserved both among the Arabs themselves and among the Jews, we realize that this view is overly simplified. Ishmael is indeed one of the ancestors of many Arab tribes, but he is not the only one. Other biblical figures also gave rise to different Arab tribes, such as Esau, Midian, Ammon, Moab, and Joktan, known as Yaktan in Arabic and Yoktan in Hebrew, all descendants of Shem. The ancient and medieval Arabs themselves were fully aware of these genealogical distinctions. They clearly differentiated between the Arabs descended from Ishmael and those originating from Joktan and other Semitic ancestors. This understanding is crucial for anyone seeking to delve into the history and identity of Arab peoples throughout the centuries. Another important point that needs to be highlighted is that Arabs, in general, belong to the Semitic ethnic racial group, the same group to which Jews, Syrians, Assyrians, Chaldeans, Arameans, and other Middle Eastern peoples, such as the Akkadians, also belong. Due to this common origin, Arabs share a genetic relationship with the Israelites and Jews, making them, therefore, brother peoples, not only from a biological standpoint, but also linguistically. This bond is well documented, as the Arabic language belongs to the same linguistic family as Aramaic, which in turn is related to various other Semitic languages historically spoken in the region. This linguistic and cultural closeness reinforces the historical interconnectedness of these peoples over the centuries. Many people believe that the Ishmaelites were the first Arabs, but this idea does not match the historical reality. Even before the emergence of the descendants of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, various Arab tribes had already established themselves in the southern Arabian Peninsula. These tribes were known as the Canaanite Arabs, descendants of Catan, Joktan, a figure that interestingly corresponds to the biblical Joktan. Medieval Arab genealogists clearly distinguished the descendants of Ishmael from the Arabs of southern Arabia who came from the lineage of Catan. This distinction is mentioned in the Bible in Genesis 10:24-26, and Arphaxad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and the name of his brother was Joktan. And Joktan fathered Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, the ancestors of the ancient Sabians, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. From this lineage of Joktan came the southern Arab tribes, including the Sabaeans, one of the most notable peoples of antiquity in Arabia. Thus, the Arab presence in the region predates the Ishmaelites, showing that Arab identity formed from multiple genealogical roots. The various sons of Joktan gave rise to the southern Arabian tribes known as Qatani or Joktanite Arabs. These peoples had already inhabited the region before the emergence of the famous Ishmaelite Arabs, descendants of Ishmael, the son of Abraham. The Ishmaelite Arabs originated from Ishmael, who fathered 12 tribes, forming an important branch of Arab ancestry. However, upon examining the genealogical chronology, it becomes clear that the Ishmaelites were actually the second major Arab group, not the first. Before them, the Arab tribes descended from Joktan were already established in Arabia, reinforcing the diversity of the Arab people's origins. When exploring the diversity of Arab tribes, we realize that, in addition to the Ishmaelites, other peoples are also considered Arabs. Among them are the descendants of Lot, who gave rise to two nations, the Moabites and the Ammonites. Both groups are recognized as Arabs and formed from the children of Lot, born from an incestuous relationship with his daughters after they made him drunk. This story is found in the book of Genesis, chapter 19, verses 30 to 38. In addition to these, there are also 6 Arab tribes descended from Abraham through his second wife, Keturah. These tribes are Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Among them, the most notable is the tribe of Midian, whose name was eventually used to refer to all the other tribes of this genealogical branch. Finally, there are 14 more Arab tribes described in the book of Genesis, chapter 36, starting from verse 15. These tribes are descended from Esau, the son of Isaac, and formed the nation of the Edomites. The Edomite tribal chiefs were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. In addition to them, there were also Nath, Zerah, Shammah, Mizah, Jush, Jalon, and another Korah, totaling 14 Edomite tribes. These records show the richness and complexity of the formation of the Arab people, composed of diverse lineages tracing back to different biblical and historical figures. From now on, I will address 3 Arab populations from the Middle East that have in their genetic makeup the heritage of the various biblical figures mentioned earlier. I will start with Jordan and the Jordanian Arab people. For those who do not know, Jordan is biblically identified as the land of Edom and also as the land of Uz, mentioned in the book of Job. Historically, this region has been occupied over the centuries and millennia by various Semitic populations, leaving their mark on the current ethnic composition of the Jordanians. Among the first peoples to settle in this region were the Ammonites and Moabites, descendants of Lot. Later, the 14 Edomite tribes, originating from Esau, also inhabited this land, and to this day, their genetics are present in the local Arab population. In addition to the Edomites, the region was later occupied by the Nabateans, a people of great cultural and economic influence, known for their impressive city of Petra. The Nabateans were descendants of Nebaioth, the son of Ishmael, and thus belonged to the Ishmaelite branch of the Arab genealogy. Thus, modern Jordan reflects a rich ethnic and historical heritage, bringing together the influences of the Ammonites, Moabites, Edomites, and Nabateans, demonstrating the continuity of the Arab presence in the region from biblical times to the present day. Based on various genetic studies, it is possible to trace the composition of the DNA of current Jordanians. The data indicate that about 73.2% of the Jordanian population's DNA has Semitic origins, stemming from the Moabites, Ammonites, and Ishmaelites. In some Jordanians, approximately 63% of ancient Semitic DNA is detected, reflecting the genetic heritage of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, and Ishmaelites, peoples who have inhabited and still inhabit this region. In addition to Jordanian Arabs, who have more than 73% of their genetic composition from ancestors like the Ishmaelites, Edomites, Moabites, and Ammonites, there is another Middle Eastern population that shares a similar genetic history: Palestinian Arabs. Palestinian Arabs prefer to be identified this way, and therefore I use this term. Genetic studies show that 73% of the genetic heritage of modern Palestinians dates back to the Bronze Age, derived from various Semitic populations that settled in the region. Among these ancestors, the Ishmaelites and Edomites stand out, as well as other groups that contributed to the formation of the present-day Palestinian people. This data reinforces the historical continuity of Semitic populations in the Middle East, highlighting that many of today's Jordanian and Palestinian Arabs carry the genetic legacy of the biblical peoples who inhabited these lands millennia ago. Many people ask me if Palestinians or Palestinian Arabs have ancestry from the ancient Philistines. My usual answer is as follows. Yes, Palestinian Arabs do have a small fraction of Philistine ancestry, but this is not the predominant lineage in their DNA. Genetic studies indicate that this heritage represents about 15% of the Palestinians' DNA, while the majority of their genetic composition is associated with Semitic peoples. Approximately 73% of Arab Semitic DNA is derived from groups such as the Ishmaelites, Edomites, and other Semitic peoples. This majority fraction of Semitic genetics is known in English as Levant Neolithic Farmer. However, I prefer to call it the main genetic lineage of the descendants of Shem, as all Semitic peoples, whether Arabs, ancient Israelites, or other Jewish tribes, carry this ancestry in their genetic makeup. Furthermore, Palestinians have more than half of their DNA inherited from Semitic groups such as the Edomites and Ishmaelites. Similarly, Jordanians have a genetic composition predominantly derived from the Edomites, Moabites, and Ammonites. This shows that despite cultural and historical differences, there is a strong genetic continuity between the Semitic peoples of the region, reinforcing the ancestral connection between these populations over millennia. The origin of Saudi Arabs is an extremely interesting and curious subject, especially when analyzed from a genetic perspective. According to the study Saudi Arabian Y chromosome diversity and its relationship with nearby regions, Saudi Arabs have between 69% and 75% of their ancestry linked to Levantine groups, that is, the same Semitic peoples that form the genetic base of various tribes in the region. This data is particularly fascinating because the Bible presents a view that aligns with this genetic analysis. According to the biblical account, Abraham had 6 sons with Keturah, and from these descendants arose 6 tribes, including the Midianites, who gave rise to several ancient Arab populations. These tribes, in ancient times, inhabited the region of modern-day Saudi Arabia. Additionally, due to the geographical proximity between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, it is highly likely that part of the Saudi population also carries an ancient genetic heritage associated with Joktan. Thus, tribes like the Midianites, the descendants of Joktan, and the Ishmaelites form the genetic base of the Saudi Arab population, contributing to this significant fraction of 69% to 75% of DNA inherited from these ancient Semitic groups. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of the genetics of the Arab peoples and the various ancient Arab tribes. If you'd like a second part addressing the origin of ancient Israelite DNA or a deeper dive into the ancestry of Arabs from a genetic perspective, leave your comments. May God bless you all, and see you soon.